Hades, the 2020 Best Indie Game of the Year, developed and published by Supergiant Games, at its surface, is a cut-and-dry roguelike dungeon crawler where you slay enemies in procedurally generated rooms, trying to escape from the depths of hell. If you were to ask anybody familiar with Hades for a brief synopsis, they would most likely regurgitate something along the lines of that explanation, though, in reality, that is not the truth, or at least, not the whole truth. Hades is more so a horror game than it is a roguelite, or anything else. However, it is not a traditional horror game, whereas in most horror games, the fear, dread, psychological damage, and anxiety elicited by the game is felt by both player and character. In Hades, Zagreus, the character you play as, is the only one who is tormented. Real quick, from now on, I'm going to refer to Hades, the game, by its publisher's name, Supergiant, so to avoid confusion with Hades, the god. As with all Greek mythology, the origins of Zagreus, dubbed the Greek god of rebirth, are varied and numerous in their tellings, though, through his varied assortment of histories, two main interpretations of Zagreus' lore persist. The first of these is the most common, that of the Spragmus, a reconstructed story pieced together from several ancient texts. In the Spragmus, Zagreus was born when Zeus disguised himself as a serpent and seduced Persephone. He was described as the fairest of all Olympian gods and the crown prince of Olympus, set to be the heir to Zeus. This, and the fact that Zeus cheated on her, angered Hera, and, in a fit of rabid jealousy, she conspired with the Titans to kill Zagreus. Luring him out with various toys, the Titans were able to seize Zagreus, chopping him up, boiling him alive, and eating him. Fortunately for Zagreus, Athena was able to rescue his still beating heart from the Titans before they ate it. Enraged by the killing of his son, Zeus strikes down the Titans with a lightning bolt, and from the ashes of the Titans emerged the first humans, who inherited evil from the flesh of the Titans, divinity from the flesh of Zagreus. Side note, this is why the Greeks frowned upon killing yourself, because to them, your body was part god, and it was disrespectful to the gods. Anyway, Zeus then took Zagreus' beating heart and crushed it up into a drink and gave it to Semele, the mortal princess of Thebes, which got her pregnant. Then, Hera got mad and jealous again, and convinced Semele to ask Zeus to see his true form, which killed her. But, and I am not making this up, the baby survived, and Zeus sewed it into his thigh so it could finish gestating. And that baby became Dionysius. Fun fact, though it is not seen as canon, the Spragmus is actually referenced in the game during a mini-quest you get from Dionysius. He asks you to prank the court musician Orpheus by spinning a tall tale about how you and Dionysius are connected, so that Orpheus will write a song about him. When you accept, Zagreus later tells Orpheus that he and Dionysius are the same god, and that the Titans once tore him limb from limb, but then his heart was saved, and that's where Dionysius comes from, a direct reference to the Spragmus. The second, less common telling, and the one Supergiant chose to use, was told by Aeschylus, a Greek tradition often described as the father of tragedy. Specifically, Supergiant Games used the version from his 5th century BCE play, Sisyphus. Much of this play has not survived, but we do know that in it, Aeschylus describes Zagreus to be the son of Hades and Persephone. The reason Supergiant chose this much less popular version was because of the freedom it offered. Because so little of the original play survived, they could have more freedom with the story without straying too far from established mythology, something they took great pains to carefully portray within the game. With this freedom, Supergiant was able to create a very unique type of horror game, one that the player doesn't experience. But to understand this, we need to look at the game from Zachary's perspective instead of the perspective of the player. Zagreus is tired. He has spent ages working for his father, doing the absolute most boring accounting work for his entire life, and there's nothing he can do about it. Though he is the son of Hades, there is still a strict no-leaving policy in the underworld. Still, he yearns for a change, bored with the utter monotony of his life. Then, one day, he has a revelation that changes his life forever. That Nyx, the woman he believed to be his mother, was in fact not his mother, and his real mother was the goddess Persephone. Already fed up with his current life, he decides to meet his true mother and ask her why she left and why she hasn't come back. With steely resolve, he heads out and attempts to escape the inescapable layers of the underworld, and is shortly met with death. Being a god, he can't truly die. He is simply drugged back to his father's palace. However, he can absolutely feel pain. So, every time he is stabbed, burned, ripped apart, impaled, mauled, and trampled by the Minotaur, he feels it. He tries again and again and again and again and again and again. Each time he is met with sure death and failure. Even when he finally escapes the layers of hell and sees the entrance to the overworld right in front of him, he isn't done. For if he wishes to truly be free, he is forced to face and kill his father. And, usually, this proves to be too much of a challenge, and he is sent, by his own father's hand, back to the palace to begin his arduous ascent again. Once he kills his own father, finally escapes, and meets his mother, he has one last horrifying realization. He can only stay on the overworld for minutes before dying to natural causes. A sucking dread fills Zagreus. He had finally done it. He had escaped. He had met his mother. But before she could answer any of his questions, he once again was dragged back to his father's palace to begin his trek anew. Time and time again, he climbs all the way out of the inescapable underworld, killing his father just to have a few moments with his mother before he is ripped once again from her arms by the cruel fates. Fear, dread, psychological damage, and anxiety. I give you a horror game, and all the while, the player is none the wiser.